All right, guys, late November is here. The time to switch your trail cameras from those rut locations to late season food sources is here. It is right now. This next month or so, deer are really going to have to pound the food sources. Bucks have been chasing their heads off. They have not been concerned with eating a bunch. And in these next few months, they're going to have to pile on the calories to make it through the harsh winters. So right now is the time to go get those cameras off of those scrapes, off of the travel corridors, pinches, funnels, wherever you had your cameras in November. They might not be the most optimal spot to have them in the late season. In the late season, there's three things that are key. It's just like the early season: cover, food, water, the necessities. And deer are not going to travel as far as they would in the early season because they have to consume calories and hold their calories. So where are you going to put your trail cameras in the late season? If you're in ag country, it's pretty easy. You're going to have your cameras on that primary food source: cut corn, standing corn, cut beans, standing beans if you have them, winter rye, winter wheat, whatever the primary food source is in your area, you're going to want to have your trail cameras in those locations. One thing to keep in mind is the fact that our temperatures have not been as frigid as they have been years ago. We're experiencing some pretty mild winters. When those temperatures are mild, deer don't prefer the grains. They want greens. They want the winter rye, they want the winter wheat, they want the clover, the brassicas. Those green leaves, they provide them with not only food, but also water. Deer consume most of their water intake from green plants. So if you have your cameras on only cut corn or only beans in the late season, you could be missing out when those temperatures are in the 40s or in the high 30s. Those deer are going to want to be on those green food sources. If you're running standard SD card cameras, get those cameras on the edges in places that it's easier for you to check without being super intrusive, because in the late season, the foliage is down, deer are herded up, they're going to be bedded in groups, and spooking deer is a lot easier, and it's also a lot more crucial to not spook them. If you're running cell cameras can be absolutely deadly in these ag country food sources. However, if you get them off the field edges and in the woods, in the transition on that trail from bed to food, it will absolutely help you capture that MRI a little bit more effectively. If you have your cell cameras on the field edges and you have deer feeding at 10 p.m., it doesn't really give you a whole lot of intel. You know the deer is there, yes, but where is he coming from? He could be coming from anywhere. So get those cell cameras back closer to the cover. If you have him coming out consistently on the same trail, accessing that food, if you know where a deer is bedding, you know where he's eating, that deer should be dead. If you are in hill country, big woods, the food sources in the late season become a whole lot harder to find. Winter scouting, late season scouting becomes crucial, but some areas to focus your cameras in that type of terrain: you got hemlocks, locust trees, greenbriers, honeysuckle, or red oak acorns can be absolutely deadly in the late season. Yes, it's going to take some legwork. You're going to have to go find where those deer are feeding. But if you put your trail cameras in those areas in the late season, it's going to lead you closer to that mature buck. One thing to keep in mind is the south-facing slopes in the late season are money. That's where you're going to get the most sunlight. That's where you're going to have the warmth. And that's also where you're going to have more understory, where the sun is shining down on the forest floor, creating a bunch of growth. So if you get your cell cameras in those areas, if you have to run standard SD card cameras in those areas, just check them as you see fit. Checking standard SD card cameras in the late season is a little bit more sensitive, but it has to be done if you still have a tag in your pocket. Another thing with running your trail cameras in the late season is switching your batteries to lithium batteries. We beat this to death, but it's crucial. You need this data. And if you have alkaline batteries in your cameras right now, the chances for failure are way higher than if you have lithium batteries. Lithium batteries are guaranteed not to leak, and that's what causes troubles in trail camera batteries in the late season. Temperatures plummet, the liquid in the batteries explode, your trail camera's ruined, and your data's lost. Weather is going to dictate the majority of movement in the late season. You're monitoring your food sources, you have your cameras on your food sources. Now it's time to sit back and wait and monitor the weather. But what are you going to look for? The key in the late season, the key in any season really, but especially in late season, is weather change, significant weather change. If you follow Jeff Sturgis content, I'm sure you've heard him talk about his weather algorithm and the change in temperature, wind speed, wind direction, barometric pressure. Any spike, any big change is going to trigger deer movement. So with your cell cameras, you're going to want to have them in real-time uploads on a short trigger delay on your food sources so you can capitalize on that weather front. And the last thing to keep in mind, if you don't have a tag in your pocket, you still need to be running your cameras in the late season on food sources. You're monitoring your survivors, you're finding out what bucks are still in the area, and you're honing in on where they like to feed in the late season, because if you have a tag in your pocket next year, that data that you got from the previous year could mean filling a tag or not. If you are going to pull your cameras in this time frame, you don't plan on hunting, or gun seasons are coming in and you don't want your cameras to get stolen, what you need to be doing right now is organizing that camera data for next season. Just for example, last year, the buck that I killed this year showed up on the very same day, November 9th in 2020, November 9th in 2021, November 10th of 2021. He died because I knew that annual data was there. Now's the time, guys. Don't be lazy. Get those cameras off those rut locations and get them into late season trail camera locations, and you'll have success this winter.